Hello, everybody. TV off. Okay, well, this sucks, but I actually feel really good about it, and I will tell you why. Well, I shouldn't say I feel really good about it. I don't feel really good about it. If I made my life or death bet yesterday, I'd be dead right now. So that's not good. But there's a few things that you should be aware of, and I think you'll find them interesting. So the first thing that I think you should be aware of is what is not in this press release. The press release has nothing about inspection, whether or not they have inspected or they're in the process of an inspection, and whether or not the FDA is considering alternative measures. The only quote in this press release is Bristol Myers Squibb continues to work closely with the FDA to support the ongoing review of the BLA for Lysocell. We are committed to bringing the Lysocell to patients with relapsed or refractory large B-cell lymphoma who still have significant unmet need. And then it talks about how the usual boilerplate stuff for holders of the contingent value rights, December 31st, yada, yada, yada. And even in the risk language at the bottom, the only risk they have is it says that they might not get approved by December 31st. I would like to show you what the language said in the 10Q. The 10Q said this. The FDA has informed us that inspections of the two manufacturing facilities required before they can issue a decision on Lysocell. One of these inspections has occurred. The other has not yet been scheduled. We do not believe the scheduling of the second site inspection is dependent on the outcome of the first site's inspection, as they are independent facilities. They have also told us previously that no scheduled inspection. They told us that on the conference call, and they told us that in September when the last time they blew the CVR up. It does seem like they blow the CVR up a lot. Why on earth would they put a press release out that potentially they know what the ramifications are of this missing December 31st and not have a line that says, after this paragraph, the FDA was unable to conduct an inspection of a third-party manufacturing facility due to travel restrictions. Therefore, the FDA is deferring action on the application to the inspection being completed. The application remains under review. The FDA did not provide new anticipated action date. Wouldn't there be another line that says, currently there's no scheduled date for an inspection in Texas? Wouldn't they put that there? Bristol Myers is all about the facts, just the facts, man. They said they have to inspect and they can inspect. And they also have not scheduled it. That's all they tell us over and over and over again. Yet nowhere in this press release does it say anything about not having a scheduled inspection. But then it gets even more kind of tinfoil hatty. I got a phone call a few hours ago from somebody. Okay, you take any of this for what it means. I'm only sharing it because I've had now 2 different people call me with the same information. So it's obviously circulating all over Wall Street. So you might as well hear it too. If multiple people that are not even related to each other are calling me with this with the information. People track private jets, and there's a Bristol Myers private jet that's in Houston today. And it flew through Dallas, and it stopped in Dallas for a few minutes, and then it landed in Houston. I heard this before this news today. I heard this like 3 or 4 hours ago. So this is not somebody trying to come up with a thesis after we're now deferred. I have no idea what that means. I'm only sharing it because multiple people called me about it, and you should know what other people are thinking, because it's ridiculous that if it's circulating after hours all over Wall Street, that you don't hear it. So it could mean that Bristol Myers was sending their quality control people to the Lonza facility to be part of an inspection. It could mean that they picked up FDA in Dallas, because some people think that Dallas is the closest regional FDA hub to Houston. I believe it is. And it only stopped there for a brief period of time. I think Bristol Myers would have been a little more transparent in the press release if they were doing inspections now. So, I'm a little skeptical of that, but I am very confident that they would have put more risk language in that press release if they didn't think this was going to be done in the next few weeks. And the only way they would know if it's going to be done in the next few weeks is if they knew there was either a scheduled inspection or they are having an inspection right now. Now, let's talk about the real negatives, because there are a lot of negatives. Everything I said before today, still stands true. I don't know why the FDA would be safe to inspect this facility now or in the next 6 weeks if they couldn't inspect the facility the last 6 weeks. There's no reason to believe the FDA is going to get anywhere near Houston in the short term if they couldn't do it the last 4 or 5 weeks. Additionally, now with the vaccines, FDA can say, all we have to do is wait till the second half of December, first half of January. We could vaccinate our people and we can get this approved in January or February. So they have kind of a timeline to get this done with, where it's not indefinitely delayed. Tomorrow is also the virtual conference about virtual inspections. So who knows what we'll hear about that? That's not run by FDA. It's done in conjunction with a third party. FDA officials will be there, and we'll learn whatever they have to tell us about virtual inspections. But notice the language used by Bristol Myers. We continue to work closely with the FDA to support the ongoing review of the BLA for Lysocell. How can you be working closely with somebody if the review's all over, but they're just waiting for an inspection? It might seem like it's a little bit, it's hard to draw to infer that, but I don't know what they're doing. Now, let's look at, of course, the other positives here, which should be very obvious at this point. There's no CRL coming, right? This is the worst outcome for the FDA. Best outcome is they CRL it, they approve it on the PDUFA, and they're done with this. They don't have to worry about telling anybody that they missed a deadline. If they deferred it, you can definitely expect approval unless something is grossly wrong at the Houston facility. I don't think that they're inspecting Houston as a result of a problem at Bothell. In fact, most people that have been following biotech for a long time said there was no way they were ever going to waive the inspection of a brand new facility that has never been inspected before. And guess what? They were right. And also, guess what? Bristol Myers was told we need to inspect, we can inspect, and it got pushed back. So yeah, I feel like an idiot there. I mean, we had to completely disregard what we were being told by the company, which is can't inspect, need to inspect, and it happened. I haven't sold any shares. I actually bought a little bit today before the market earlier today. I haven't bought any shares. I think it's a fascinating situation here. So you're at $1.13. It is impossible to put a price on what the litigation value would be in this. It's also impossible to put a price on what Bristol Myers might do if this goes past December 31st and it's not approved. As I've said before, I'm in the minority. I think this trades probably significantly above 25 cents if we're at December 31st and there hasn't been a decision. It's probably more like 50 cents, in my opinion. I don't think I'd be a seller below 50 cents, given what I think the ultimate conclusion can be. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and people that do contracts more than I do say because there's no force majeure clause and there's no specific carve out for a pandemic in the CVR agreement, that you don't have much of a lawsuit here. I don't agree. I think this is an extremely unique situation, and I think Bristol Myers would not want discovery and would not want to have this tied up for a few years, and would just settle for they'd save billions of dollars anyway. So I think they'd be pretty happy with that conclusion. But I'll tell you what, based on that press release, and I'm drinking, based on that press release, I think there is, I know this is crazy, but I think there's a greater than 50% chance this is still approved by the end of the year. They would have told us that they haven't scheduled an inspection. They can't schedule an inspection. And Bristol Myers is currently uncertain about when an inspection will occur. None of that's there. It just says that due to travel restrictions, the FDA wasn't able to complete an inspection. Wasn't. In fact, it's all historical. The FDA was unable to conduct an inspection. It doesn't say the FDA is unable to conduct an inspection due to COVID. Was unable. Now, yes, they're referring to the historical time because this is the PDUFA date and they missed the PDUFA date. But wouldn't it still be true? FDA is not able. I mean, even just say that. The FDA is unable. Or the FDA is, the lawyers have been very peculiar with language in the 10Q, and they split out the two different facilities. One has nothing to do with the other. And then now not putting anywhere in this press release that it's not scheduled. I don't think it's a coincidence. And I'll take a step further because it hasn't happened yet, but I'll take a step further. I think if this only trades to like $3 on Lysocell approval, Because this is one of the interesting outcomes, I thought. If it gets approved between now and the end of the year, you're not going to get to $4.50. You'll probably get to like $3 to $4. And people are going to think ide-cel is going to be pushed back. And I think that'll be set up for a better trade than even this is. Because in that scenario, you'll have vaccines for frontline workers and definitely for FDA inspectors. They could come as early as the end of December. But let's say it doesn't happen until January for them. By the time their second vaccine is given, it'll be February. They'll have plenty of time to get a March 27th PDUFA date approved. And secondly, this is an unneed with no other drugs on the market, ide-cel. And it's in New Jersey and it's in Massachusetts. It's not in Houston. They have regional people they could send in. There's so many different factors with the ide-cel application than there is with the liso-cel application. So I'm getting ahead of myself about what happens with ide-cel, but I think the setup's pretty great at $1.15. I do. I didn't think this was possible. I thought we'd go down in a deferral. We are down 10% right now, or even more, I guess, because it was up today. So we're down whatever 15%, and we were able to dodge the big bullets in the press release, the things I was mostly concerned about, and they're not there. Where I thought they would really wave red flags and say this isn't going to happen. I'm told that the BMY CEO is going to be at a conference on Wednesday, so I'm sure he's going to tell us what he thinks there. The last thing I want to say before I take questions is Bristol Myers is up in after hours, and that is not because of this. That's because of stupid Warren Buffett's disciples. They're not stupid, sorry, but the fact that people buy stocks when Berkshire Hathaway buys stocks, and it has nothing to do with Warren Buffett. It's his employees that bought the stock. But that's why Bristol Myers is up. So I hope that guy's out of the money calls paid off today, but it has nothing to do with this CVR. So let me see the questions. Holy cow, there's a bunch of questions here. Okay, let's see. There's 225 people on this? Holy cow, I gotta get an agent. I'm gonna lose all my money, but I have YouTube followers. Wonderful. Maybe one of you could hire me for being a terrible investor. I appreciate your commentary. Any thoughts on the EMA review date for liso-cel on December 18th? Any possibility the FDA tag along for the inspection? Yes, I'm really glad you brought that up. That December 18th liso-cel date is false. You can't just add 120 days or whatever it is, 180 days to when the EMA validated it. The clock stops multiple times. So liso-cel will not be decided on December 18th. Liso-cel will almost certainly be decided after the FDA decides it. And I'm sure the EMA also would want, I would think, the Houston facility to be inspected, and they're going to piggyback, I'm guessing, on the FDA. The company is committed to working with the FDA. Yeah, I already said that. Oh, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. That was in every single press release. So every press release, they say the company is committed to work with the FDA to progress both applications to achieve the remaining regulatory milestones for the CVR. That's not bullish. That line's been in every press release. And of course, they're going to point to that when they get sued, that we've always tried to do this. Yeah, I agree with that. The FDA is unable to inspect third party in Texas due to travel restrictions related to the COVID-19 pandemic. That really bothered me. There's no travel restrictions. They can fly to Texas. That's ridiculous. That's just not true. I mean, the FDA has decided internally they don't want to do it, but Texas has no laws that you have to quarantine when you show up. Further, Maryland has no laws that you have to quarantine when you come back if you're on official business. Wasn't liso-cel delayed earlier this year? Whose fault was that? Yeah, I mean, that's Bristol Myers wouldn't want to have to go to discovery about why there was a major amendment. So a major amendment happened for liso-cel. It added 3 months to the review. Now we don't have a cushion. We would have had 4.5 months. Now we have, 1.5 months. And why was there a major amendment? Well, there's really only one reason. They left out a bunch of stuff from the original application. So the question is that normal? Well, it happens in less than 10% of NDAs. All of this stuff is reasons why Bristol Myers, I think, would be very happy to settle this at a much discounted price in the future. They don't want to deal with this. They're a huge company. This CVR is a freaking headache. And if they had to pay $2 billion instead of $9 billion or $3 billion, sorry, $2 billion instead of $7 billion or $3 billion instead of $7 billion, I think they do it in a second. Litigation value is possibly more than many think. Every contract contains an applied covenant of good faith and fair dealing in the performance and enforcement of the contract. Yes, it says that in there, but if it's COVID related, that would not fall under any of that. I mean, they're using best efforts. Now, where you could really start to get peculiar is we spoke to a consultant once that said that it was a Pfizer consultant, and he said he sent private planes. He knows of Pfizer sending private planes for FDA to inspect sometimes things, whether it's Ebola in Africa or whatever. He actually used, I think, Ebola in Africa as an example. So private companies do send planes for the FDA to get to certain locations they can't get to in public transport. So it's not illegal by any means for Bristol Myers to send their jet from Maryland to Houston. By the way, it wasn't from Maryland. This jet was rumored to come from New Jersey. You know, why couldn't a company that owns private planes get the FDA safely to Houston? Mind you, people think that flying isn't even dangerous versus many other things that we're doing during this pandemic. So there's no real reason why Bristol Myers, why FDA can't get on a commercial plane, with an N95 mask and conduct an inspection. When you unlock your Twitter account for a day, so it doesn't work like that. I can't unlock it and then relock it. I have all these people that are pending, and once you unlock it, they all can follow me. So I'm sorry, I can't do that. This can go to zero, but no one's personal incentives lean that way. Agree? It's a good question. Bristol Myers CEO would be the only real person that is incentivized for this to go to zero. But there's a lot to be said that his overall, how do I say this? I think that he cares more about his credibility than he does about saving a few $1 billion on a $160 billion market cap. You know, people look at the absolute dollar of the CVR and not the relative dollar amount versus Bristol Myers. And when he signed this deal, he did not intend to come up with some convoluted way to have this be rejected. So let's take a step back. The CVR was created because all three drugs had some element of risk, obviously. But let's talk about what the risk is. The first drug, ozanimod, was RTF'd. Okay, it was RTF'd, and Bristol Myers didn't know whether or not there was more hair on it than Celgene was saying, and it hadn't even been accepted for review by the time they signed the deal in January of 2019. So Bristol Myers said, we want that in the CVR bucket. The other two drugs, Lysocell and Idacel, hadn't read out their pivotal trials yet. So there was clinical risk. There could have been major side effects. There could have been failed efficacy. So that was why it was in there. The intent of the CVR wasn't, oh, they might fuck up the manufacturing, or there might be, a pandemic. It was, one got RTF'd, is Celgene telling us everything we need to know, and the other two, do they end up being the quality drugs that we hope they are going to be based on the preliminary data, but we don't know yet. So if you look at what's happening right now, we now know this is not getting a CRL for anything to do with CMC or Bothell. It's just not. Okay, the drug's approved. The odds that Houston, the third-party facility, would be something bad enough to now CRL it after the FDA's already missed the action date, which is a huge deal to miss an action date, seems extraordinarily unlikely to me. So it leads to the question whether or not Bristol Myers, because they know it's a hairy lawsuit, because the intent of the CVR was that the timelines were made based on these drugs working and then not needing new trials, let's say, right? That was what it was done for. It wasn't, those deadlines were not done because they expected COVID, of course. The deadlines were done because they thought one or more of these drugs would have problems with their clinical profile and they might need a new trial. And then maybe it takes 2 more years for it to read out. It was not done based on any of this shit. So yeah, I definitely think that, let me answer the question then. So is everyone incentivized for this not to be a zero? The answer is no. The CEO and Bristol Myers common shareholders are definitely incentivized for this to be a zero. Definitely the common shareholders. They don't give a shit about the CVR holders. But the board of directors and the CEO have other things they're interested in, which is care about their reputation, and they also care about the employees that own the CVR and a lot of other intangibles that are much bigger than 6 or 7 billion on a $150 billion market cap. So I don't know. Let me see what else we got here. Remind us why the FDA feels critical to inspect Lonza. What's made there? Yeah, it's very important. It's the as my friend Sheep says, it's the chicken and the chicken soup. So you can't make chicken soup without chicken. It's the vector that goes into the CAR T that's actually manufactured and assembled in Bothell. And it's never been inspected before. This is not just making, Advil or something. It's a very complex thing that is just made the same way every time. So CAR Ts are all individually made by people's, blood cells or whatever. I have no idea how CAR T is made. You infuse somebody, you take shit out of their vein, you send it to Bothell, you do some shit with it, and then you put it back into their vein. But while you do some shit with it, the vector is the shit that's done with the stuff that came out of your vein. So that's my technical analysis of what happens in Bothell. Why did the FDA just punt on a PDUFA date? Vaccine rush seems like only plausible explanation. No, Houston is surging with COVID cases. It's definitely possible. They could have put that in the press release. FDA has informed us that's a bad look. So maybe they wouldn't tell us that the FDA is too busy with vaccines, so they're not going to do other approvals. But I don't think that's the case. We'll find out on Wednesday, I guess, when the CEO speaks. But I think it's that it's dangerous there. It could be vaccines too. We were told that by Bristol Myers in September, could possibly be vaccines. What other examples has happened recently with the FDA COVID, and what was the outcome? If you're bullish over the next 2 weeks, are we just short one FDA approval for $9 by QT1? I don't know what that means. There's been no positive outcomes by any deferral, but the deferrals that have happened so far have not been anything like this one. One was in South Korea, and the other one was a Botox drug in Orange County, I think. So this is the first breakthrough designation drug that's been deferred by FDA. The FDA is indifferent about approving it on time for the CVR. The FDA does not care at all about the CVR. So they don't care if it's a zero. Yes, true. Many BMY shareholders are also CVR holders. Yes, I know. I don't think that Bristol Myers CEO cares so much about that, though, that some of the ex-Celgene holders own the CVR. But yes. Geo has, can you talk about how confident you are that it's legal for BMY others to fly FD on a private jet? Oh, kid died on my blog, and a real question. A Pfizer guy told us on the phone that he's done this before. That when the FDA can't get to certain locations, they've used their private jets to get their guy. So very legal. Marty Babbitts. Geo has said multiple times in interviews he wants to meet the milestones to pay the CVR. He has a great reputation, as does BMY, so he has other incentives than just to save a $7 billion in his rep. I totally agree. I definitely wouldn't listen to anything he's saying, though, and take it to heart. I mean, what's he going to say? I hope we screw these cancer patients and we screw the CVR holders and we get approved January 1st. So I wouldn't take anything he says to word. But I do think his reputation is important. And I think that this is a weird situation. This is just a very, very weird situation. Agreed. He's a deal maker, and credibility with future targets is critical. Paying out $7 billion for 30 approved drugs on time is a positive for him. A lot of people say they'll never be able to use a CVR again. Well, if I was Bristol Myers CEO, I would say, so I say $7 billion. I'll buy companies without CVR going forward. Again, I wouldn't try to go out of my way to delay a cancer drug on purpose. This is really just a conversation about this. I'm not questioning whether they try to get this done in the next 6 weeks. I think Bristol Myers will do all they can to get this done in the next 6 weeks. I question what they do if they miss the December 31st deadline and what happens there. That is what I'm debating. I've always thought Bristol Myers is doing what they can to get this done. Many BMO, okay, that BMO can never CVR again. Wouldn't the FDA need to inspect the Lonza facility for the Moderna vaccine? No, that's apparently the vaccine vector is being manufactured in New Jersey, not in Lonza. Not in Houston. Can you expand your greater than 50% views approved at the end of the year? Think we conclude a virtual inspection is off the table. Yet COVID-19 seems worse now than ever before. Approval seems likely, but post 12/31. Well, you might have missed the beginning of the call, but my entire confidence is based on the fact that say there's no scheduled inspection, and they've been giving us that disclosure over and over and over again, and they just left it out of the press release. So I think there's a plan in works. It could be active, could be happening right now, and that's why that's not in there. That's my confidence, my sole confidence. If there was a line in there that said there's no scheduled inspection, and there's a line in there that said we have significant doubt that approval could happen before 12/31 given COVID situation, you'd be at 50 cents right now. we wouldn't be at it. I don't even know what it's trading at. What's it trading at? $1.13. Yeah. Isn't COVID risk for inspectors at the hotel, not the plane? Private plane wouldn't resolve. Yeah. It's a multi-day inspection. I have no idea. I really don't. I don't even know if I I give a 5% validity to the plane story, by the way. Everything for me is about the press release and about the language and what's missing and what's not there. How soon would inspection need to happen before year end to get approved? Does it take a few weeks to process application? That's a really great question. So the best comp we got is in July. There was a European drug. I've talked about this before, that towards the end of July, it got 483s, and then it was approved the second or third week in August. I believe it was like 15 to 20 days between the inspection date and the approval, and it got multiple Form 483s. The FDA could do whatever it wants. The FDA can get this approved very quickly post an inspection. They have every incentive to get this approved so they get this out of the papers, because I think this is a great, page one health story. FDA fails to approve breakthrough oncology drug on time because they can't inspect a Houston plant. And I think they're going to do all they can as fast as possible to get this done. And I wouldn't be so sure that maybe they don't do virtual inspection. There's nothing in that article or in that press release about virtual inspections. But yeah, I don't know. How soon? Oh, you're with that. What are your odds of $9? And at what point would you be a seller? Look, I think that we still have a very good expected value here. So my view is that ide-cel is still very likely to be approved by March 27th. We'll have vaccines for the inspectors by the end of January. They should be vaccinated twice by the end of January. So there's no reason why they can't expect in February. So ide-cel to me is low risk, even though this lysocell just missed its PDUFA date. I know that's perverse. So all you're left with is this unique situation. And A, does it get done by December 31st? And if what is the odds that you either win in litigation or that Bristol Myers does something creative December 31st with the CVR litigation? By the way, creative could be they tender for the CVRs for a new CVR, a CVR exchange. I have no idea, where they pay you $5, but they do a CVR exchange to stop litigation, And there's a lot of outcomes here. So when you're paying $1.10, it's an expected value of all these outcomes. The part that's hard to own it into the end of the year is that, you feel like a schmuck saying that there's a greater than 50% chance it's approved between now and the end of December, when if they couldn't inspect the last 6 weeks, why would they be able to inspect the next 6 weeks? What I'm banking on is the press release and the lack of disclosure and the fact that the FDA also banking on, litigation or Bristol Myers somehow amending the CVR come December 31st. When I say amending it, I'm not saying they're going to still give us $9. I don't know what they would do, but there's probably creative ways for them to save billions of dollars, heat off litigation, and then also make their employees happy. And a significant number of their shareholders own the CVRs. That's the best I got. So safe to assume Bothell went fine, no other should BLA. Likelihood low of poor Lonza inspection. There's a small chance that Bothell had some minor issues that were so minor that they will only approve pending the Houston facility inspection. But yes, Bothell's passed its inspection. They're not delaying a PDUFA to then give a CRL by not being able to inspect here. I'd like to remind everybody, BioMarin got a CRL in August for other reasons unrelated to the inspection, and they never inspected the facility. So if the FDA was all about complete responses, they would have delayed the BioMarin PDUFA and inspected it and told them that it failed or it was fine. Same thing as Mesoblast, and there's been other companies that haven't been inspected. How am I sizing it? I came into today with about a 20% position in this. And now in after hours, I guess it's like an 18% or 17% position. And yeah, I'm not touching it. There's nothing, I had a phone call with a guy before I did this YouTube, and it always feels wrong to do nothing, because it means I'm probably doing something wrong, right? Is it really supposed to be exactly the same position size right now? I have all this new information and I'm not buying it and I'm not selling it. So, am I anchored to it? I don't know. I mean, when it went to 50 or 60 cents, I was about to put a buy order in, but I hadn't even read the press release yet. So is there a price I would be a seller of it? Yes. I don't think it's getting to $1.50 anytime soon, unless we get confirmation about inspections being scheduled. And the CEO very well might say on Wednesday, there's nothing scheduled. And if he says there's nothing scheduled, this will go to between 50 and 75 cents. You should bank on it. So, and I'll hold it then too, because I think there's real litigation value. And I think that there's real chance of them amending the CVR come December 31st. So I feel comfortable with it. It's clear that over the last couple of weeks, BMY knew the FDA was jitterish about Houston inspection. It's clear they're working closely with FDA. BMY should know in the next 2 weeks or so, right? I mean, BMY knows now. They know now. They know whether or not the FDA is 4 weeks or 3 weeks. And nowhere in that press release that say no inspection is scheduled. Why? Why wouldn't that be in there? And I don't have a good answer. Except that it's bullish. Anybody else? One more minute for questions, and I'm gonna hang out with my family. I assume the inspection has to occur by December 10th in order to get approval by end of year. Any other thoughts? The FDA can do whatever they want. They could approve it days after the Lonza inspection. If there's no Form 483, with Kid Dynamite bailing, isn't that the most bullish sign yet? Did he tweet that he sold this? He sold it? Get out of here. Let me see. Oh yeah, he tweeted a lot. This is great. Did he sell it all? Oh yeah, he's selling chunks. Yes. Thank you for learning that to me. I'm going to actually increase my position size in the CVR that he sold chunks. By the way, isn't that great disclosure? For all you Twitter traders that don't disclose your positions or your position sizes, you could really take a lot to learn from Kid Dynamite blog. He's never told us the percent of his portfolio is at BMYRT. He's never told us when he bought it. He never told us when he sold it, though he is telling us today he's selling chunks, so that one day he could tell us, oh, I sold some chunks, but other times I bought some chunks and I made up a lot of money on this. Perfect Twitter trader, complete bullshit. No reason to even look at it. I love you, Kid Dynamite, but I fucking hate you. Next. With large blocks being able to get out in after hours, don't you expect this to go down further? Actually, I think it's the opposite. Usually in situations like this, you're more likely to have a washout in after hours because there's a lack of liquidity. There's no block traders. There's no anything. So people that want to sell millions of shares are doing it very sloppily. If anything, I expect it to be higher tomorrow. It's actually traded something like 15 million or 20 million shares, I think, since the market closed. That's a huge amount of volume. So no, I don't expect it to be down tomorrow. But if Bristol Myers Investor Relations or if the CEO disclose that there's no inspection scheduled, then yes, it's going down. And in the past, I can tell you this, Bristol Myers Investor Relations will not say that. They'll say as of, the last time we disclosed it, which was earnings call, there's no inspection scheduled. It's very unlikely that they would reiterate that on a phone call. But, these guys have done a lot of weird selective disclosures over the last 6 months because I don't think they're familiar with having a security like this. And I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but especially on private, sell side calls, as you know, in June, when it came to the IDACEL refiling. That wasn't investor relations, that was the company. But anyway, you should be prepared for it to go down a lot based on no scheduled inspection. Is the vector inspection a week-long process, or could it be we just need to see facility for one day? I have no idea. I think it's more than one day. I think it's a few days. I love it. My buddy is texting me right now, and he's watching this, I think, for his work. And he keeps telling me to stop talking. He wants to have dinner with his family, which is hilarious. Phil, you could just leave. You can go. You don't have to watch. But he's right. I should sign off. So if anybody else has any other questions, they want to say anything to me, shout out to Phil, by the way, one of my best friends. I love you. Are you drinking Houston wine? No. That's funny, I think. But to be clear, and the last takeaway of this is if they couldn't inspect the last 6 weeks, I don't know whether they'll be able to inspect the next 6 weeks. So I'm hanging on a press release's language when a company has been nothing but full of legal disclosure. Nothing. Everything has been very, very tightly, dotted and crossed to make sure that they have covered all their asses from legal disclosure. And I just cannot fathom why they wouldn't put in this press release. There's currently no scheduled inspection because it's not in the press release. And with that, another shitty day. 2020 can't end fast enough. Thank you all for watching.